Boom, boom, Danny Buchan. What a ride this is, and it is on!
Episode 3, and today we've got the pleasure of Fogarty.
I jumped on the big bike and took to it like a duck to water, and I won the TTF1 World Championship in that first year. And I believed in myself, I believed in my own ability, I believed I was better than anybody else in the world. Privateer, winning a race, beating all the factory team.
Didn't you have that tear up with Frankie Keeley? I was going to say, when you said you...
my favourite's the BSB, to be honest, because you're in it, Danny.
I know, mate, I know.
I'd lost my belief a little bit that year, and I just knew that I was going to come out of the blocks and go bang, take that out, you lot. It was coming on the TV across the Sky info bar across the bottom. Carl Fogarty announced his retirement. Yeah. I ricocheted off the tyre wall back out, then people thought I was dead because I was just led there emotionless. Won the biggest TV show in the UK, and that was my biggest fear. Was the other campmates not getting me in a pink sequin top, throwing some shakes. No. I didn't really enjoy racing, to be honest. I enjoy winning. There's a big difference.
Boom, boom, Danny Buchan. What a ride this is, and it is on!
Welcome to Pushing the Limit podcast with me, Danny Buchan. This is season 1, episode 3, and today we've got the pleasure of Carl Fogarty. Carl, obviously, thanks for having us, mate, and you're in your house here, a little bit further than the Watford gap, so...
Yeah, you need your passport up this far up, mate.
Oh no, I didn't bring my skinny jeans, actually, for that. But yeah, obviously, thank you for having us, and lovely home.
Thank you, mate, thank you.
Before we jump in, I've got one question. I know I've asked you a few questions, but I want to ask you this one. When you sit back and look at what you achieved in your career, were you fulfilled? Like, do you sit back, because obviously you've won, obviously we're going to go through it, but you've won so many different races. Do you sit back and say, do you know what, I'm content? Or was there some unanswered things that you wanted to achieve? Yeah,
pretty much content, to be honest. Although, you know, MotoGP wins would have been nice to add to the CV. We come close to, or maybe I think it was close anyway, with Kenny Roberts' team with Marlboro Yamaha in '96. He wanted us to ride for him, but Marlboro didn't want us, and so that kind of door shut, really. So I ended up setting Superbike, which was huge back then anyway. It really was. So I look back now, and then, you know, it would have been nice to have a couple of years on that Marlboro Yamaha. It would have really suited me, and sure I'd have won races and probably challenged for the championship. But I guess, you know, what I did achieve, I am pretty much content, really.
Yeah, do you look back and you're like, that's because, do you know, like, even, yeah, like the fact that you won the 4 Superbike championships is one thing, but the rest of it is just... Like, what do you think? What do you say, like, for you, like, the most special win, which was probably the hardest?
Probably the World Superbike, the first World Superbike title. It went down to the last round of the year, the other side of the world in Australia, and I'd just missed out the year before, and the rivalry between me and Scott Russell was really intense. None of us seemed to like each other, and always had a lot to say, especially me. I don't know why I said as much as what I did do. I'm better off keeping my mouth shut. And, putting a lot less pressure on myself to win, but it was huge back then with the Sky TV and whatnot. They built it up, and I came out on top and won that first world title. So that was the highlight, I think. Really, I mean, winning the TT, things like that were really good. They're kind of a good stepping stone in my career. Really, I look back on that, and we kind of pride really that I'm probably the last person ever that could win on the road circuits, on any road circuit, and held that record on them all, and then go on to be a short circuit world champion. That'll probably never happen again now. Yeah,
well, even if you look back through the history of motorbike racing, there's not many people that can actually say they've done all of that. Is there? Like in the reality of things, and like you say, like for the future, it's such a trying to explain to people that don't watch motorbike racing, understand motorbike racing, to have that. To be able to win in such different disciplines is just, it's not like you're going around a circuit. The TT is not like a short circuit, is it? It's incredible.
No, I mean, I kind of took it for granted early. When I was racing, I just thought, this is it. This is just another race, just whatever bike I'm riding. But it's like when I look back now, I think, God, I was quite impressed to jump on any kind of bike, on any kind of track, and always be running up front and winning. So... yeah, it fills me with pride when I even get a bit goosebumps thinking about it, really, I suppose. But the TT stuff and then the World Championships, it'll not happen again. So
it's because it's chalk and cheese, isn't it? But like when you speak to like people now, like in the modern day with the racing, you go, "Oh, do you want to do the TT?" And they're like, "Absolutely not." Or they have that kind of, "Do you know what? Actually, I would like to do it," or like Hickey's doing and people like that. But yeah, like the World Championship side, like I could never imagine like Scott, or I couldn't imagine Johnny Ray going, do you know what, I'm going to go and do the TT and try and win it.
Probably a little bit different era now. Obviously, you don't really get brought up with it and the TT really. But I was at the back end of, you was expected almost to go to the TT in the 70s and 80s, and I came along in the late 80s, and it was still a big thing then, even though a lot of people weren't doing it then. You know, it was even a world championship created because of the TT, the TTF1 World Championship, which I won 2 years running, and so I was at the back end of that really. But I was brought up really at the TT. My dad used to race, and as a kid, all I remember is going to the TT and getting 2 weeks off school, which is great, you know. For me, I hated school, and then I was just in and out of bloody hotels and nicking vending machines, Mars bars out of stuff, and at the amusement arcade next door, getting into trouble, banging the old penny machine, trying to get, you know, I was just in and out of trouble as a kid, and then going up to watch the racing and watching my dad race and him trying to win it, and him finishing second behind Joey when Joey won his first TT in '77, and so I was always brought up around the TT, and I always really wanted to do it. You know, I think it's more of a Northern England thing anyway. Back then it was an Irish and a Scottish and Welsh thing, really. You know, but Southern England didn't really bother with it. You know, very few did. Obviously now we Hickey, he's a Southern, I guess.
Northern-ish. She's north of Essex anyway. And that was actually going to be my next question. Like, do you remember your first moment, like when you was like, you know what, I am going to be a motorbike racer? Was it like never a doubt in your mind, like seeing your dad race, or?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can remember, like, you know, I was like 11, 12 years old, I would tell anybody I'm going to race motorbikes and I'm going to be world champion. Yeah. I look back now and think, did I actually believe that I was, you know, what I was saying? Or did I just say it because I thought it was sounding fun, sounding cocky, and sounding clever? I don't know, but I actually think I believed it. I would just, you know, would tell anyone that listened that, you know, I don't need work, I don't need school, I'm going to be racing motorbikes and be world champion. And here I am. It kind of came true, I guess. But,
teachers losing it. Teachers, he's right.
He's winning. I know. Can you imagine teaching now? Damn, he was right. That kid.
Yeah, what a dickhead. Yeah, he was right. Yeah, and obviously then from there you just went into, what did you start, like, was there mini bikes then, or was it motocross or scrambling, or what
I did 2 years on schoolboy motocross on a YZ125, but I was never really good at motocross.
I was really good.
No, I won a odd few local club rounds, and I was second in the championship, but I'm never really that good at it. I mean, my heart was never in it. I'm never really aggressive or never determined.
Yeah.
I always knew at the back of my mind that I was never good enough to go on to be a top motocross racer, and it was just a case of filling in the time that I got to 18 years old when I could go road racing. It was 18 back then when I was racing, so that was it really. Once I turned 18, I just thought I don't really want to do this anymore. And my dad, I was still racing, and I rode his Ducati, his Formula 2 Ducati in a few club races with orange jacket on in '83. That was it then. I was hooked on road racing. As soon as I went road racing, I wanted to win. Yeah. I was just so determined to win, whereas I never was at motocross for some reason. That was kind of my introduction to road racing from schoolboy motocross.
Yeah, and you fell in love with it. Was there anyone you sort of idolised at that point, or did you just sort of, was there people you looked at like, right, I need to do this and this to get to that stage? And...
Yeah, Kenny Roberts was always my hero as a kid. I always used to watch him on TV and cheering him on at the British Grand Prix. My dad was in the British Grand Prix in 77, 78, 79, and for me it was always Kenny Roberts. And my leathers, actually, in the picture up there, they're a replica of his leathers, Kenny Roberts leathers from '82 in '83 when that picture was taken. For me it was him really. And
then was there a point where you just said, right, like, what was the point of where you knew you was good enough to go into that sort of professional level where you had the opportunity, obviously, to start earning some money from it? What sort of year was that?
It was probably '88. I'd had a bit of a tough few years on the 250 Grand Prix bike, TZ and RS, and I broke my leg quite badly. And so I was kind of in the wilderness a little bit. I was going really, really well in '86, flying. Broke 4 lap records in 4 weekends, got a ride in the British Grand Prix. I had to beg for a ride, and they kind of saying to me, look, you best not get in the way of all these top guys and knock anybody off or anything like that. I was like, all right, just, support the race, And I finished 11th in the British Grand Prix in the pissing rain. Kept it upright and finished 11th, which is amazing. I got a few teams talking about us. I was like the young kind of 19-year-old, 20-year-old that was doing everything right on 250s. And I had a meeting with Chaz Mortimer, who run the Silverstone Armstrong team, the week after for Grand Prix. Go to Grand Prix racing with him and Donnie McLeod. And Neil McKenzie just left to run the 500. And but then a week later, I broke my leg testing at Oulton Park, ready for the British round there. And I made a right mess of it. Compound fracture, broke my femur, right mess. And I was like, I came back the year after and broke it again, where the pin had been through my leg. I was infected. So I was like struggling to get comfortable on 250s at this point then in my career. And it wasn't until 88 that the RC30 came out. My sponsor got me an RC30. And we said, look, you need to be on the big bikes. That's where the glory is and the money and that kind of stuff and the fame sort of thing. And I didn't really want to. I still wanted to race 250s and be 250 world champion. That was my dream. But because of my injuries to my leg, and that was kind of over really, you know. So I jumped on the big bike and took to it like a duck to water. I was comfortable on the bike for the first time. I just started doing really well on it. I was only racing 80% as well, because in the back of my mind thinking, I can't really afford to crash here and destroy my leg again, you know. And I won the TTF1 World Championship in that first year by just being consistent, really. And then I picked up a win at the Ulster Grand Prix in the wet, and then in Pegusa in Sicily, at the second to last round, I won there. And suddenly I'm world champion, like from being nowhere the year before, laying in hospital bed, to being a world champion on a superbike, really, a TTF1 championship. So at that point, then I kind of thought I can make some. You know, I'm professional now. And in '89, I was professional then with the RC30 and a bit of help from Honda Britain and my sponsor Dave Orton, Appleby Glade. So I was away then.
And that was your first professional as such paid contract?
Professional year was probably '89, yeah. Then I signed for Honda Britain for a paid contract of about £12,000 a year or something like that, whatever it was.
But that would be quite, we were saying earlier, like, it's quite relative compared to like the actual income, like level income then, I guess, for like a house, let's say, it would have been quite, you probably could have bought a house, could you then? I don't know, what would have been 30, 40 grand maybe? Yeah,
you could get a decent house for probably that 30, 40 grand.
Yeah, because the
nice
money,
semi or something, you know.
Like how relative it all is in time, isn't it? It's good. But and then what was that? When was that like the equivalent to like? Did you go like to the BSB after that? Was it or?
I did the TTF1 World Championship Series and the Alaman TT and the British Superbike rounds. Did a few of them. The Shell Oils ones they were. I won a few of them. I didn't do the whole series. I was doing the TTF1 World Championships, which I won again, and I obviously won the first TT in '89. So yeah, that was pretty much it really. It was, and then 1990. Again, I signed for Honda to do the British Championships, some World Superbike rounds, which is what I wanted to do. I was pushing to them. About 5 or 6 selected World Superbike rounds, plus a TT, and the TTF1 World Championship, but it'd be downgraded from a World Championship in 1990 to a TTF FIM Cup, it was called, which I won it fairly easily with a round to go. And did, obviously, I got a ride in the Grand Prix, I stood in for Keeley when he got injured. I rode the Grand Prix Honda, which I just hated the bike. It didn't suit me at all. Really hated it. It was like riding the RC30 with a front end trouble with it, just tuck it under everywhere. It was like the RC, but worse because it was a lot lighter bike, you know. But I rode it at Cadwell. It was flying around Cadwell. The bike always seemed to work. The RC30 always seemed to work at Cadwell. It was great. Other circuits it wouldn't work at, like Donnington, and it's the same with the 500. I rode the 500 at Cadwell. It was flying on it, under lap record. It was absolutely awesome.
And you had no chicane. You didn't have the chicane then, did you?
It was amazing.
And you probably had shorter runoff then, didn't you, at the bottom of the mountain there? Yeah.
And then I just swear somebody had swapped bikes. So when the time I got to Grand Prix, it was horrendous. I crashed early on the second lap, I think it was, at McLean's. I just knew the front was going to roll and took under on me. But that was my introduction to Grand Prix racing, I guess, in 1990, from riding the RC30 and the domestic championships, World Superbike and the TT and stuff.
What was the level of the bikes like then? Like, what was the level of electronics? Was there anything, or was it?
There was nothing.
There you go. There's a dash.
There's connection to your head and the throttle, really. You know, that was it. No electronics at all.
And when did you first? So when you went into the world, so obviously like full on into the World Championship, did you? What sort of year was that? I sound really funny because like my naivety to the sport before like I really got into it. My background was motocross, and then I kind of got into road racing, and then this as the more and more years I've got into racing, I've looked further and further, and just like really in awe of sort of the successes, you know. And
in '92 was the first kind of full year. I was a privateer. I didn't have a great year with Honda in '91. The bike was old. it was not competitive at all, and I couldn't ride that bike again just for 30, 40 grand a year.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I had to, I was speaking about this recently with James Whittam, said how he admired that gamble I took, and I believed in myself. I believed in my own ability. I believed I was better than anybody else in the world, and I needed a bike to go and prove that. So I bought the Ducati with the money I'd earned through riding for Honda Britain in the previous couple of years, and the truck and the mechanic, and where we went, and at the second round I won it at Donnington, which I guess to this day it's never happened. A privateer winning a race, beating all the factory teams, and so that kind of, it all paid off in that one race, really. I mean, I was a regular thorn in the side of all the factory guys throughout that 92 season. I did 3/4 of the championship, did the World Endurance Championship, won that with Terry Reimer, which, again, the money from that paid for me to run the Ducati, which is good. And I did everything that year. I rode the TT with a Loctite Yamaha and nearly won there, and took the lap record to 123, which stood for 7 years while I was racing in World Superbikes. All the years I was racing World Superbikes, I was still the fastest guy around the TT, And then did some racing in Malaysia in 92, did the Macau Grand Prix. I just did anything that was offered to me, just, kind of for the money, the fame and stuff, really. But yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, everything I touched in 92 turned to gold, really. It was just everything really worked out well for me. And then that opened the door then for the factory Ducati contract for 93, which was, the big one, really.
How was it going from, obviously, if you talked about the off-season when you was, putting your own show together, you're putting all your money in, you got sponsors putting this in, putting that in, and then, obviously, all of that stress that you've then got, and then you're going to the first, and obviously you get that win. I bet that was a special feeling just because of the amount of effort. Did you feel like a huge weight?
I was so emotional. I was crying my eyes out.
Because there's so much stuff behind the scenes that you'd have to organise.
We'd no spare wheels or anything. There was no spare engine. I'd slid off the bike in practice as well. Repairing it all. And then the first race, I was leading it by 3 seconds and just run off the edge of the tyre around Goddard's and leaning that far over. Just slid off, broke the footrest. I was like, absolutely in bits, crying. My dad's having a go at me. He said, you can't keep fucking doing this and crashing. Wife's going mad, saying, get out of the caravan,
And
then I had to put my head together and to go out 2 hours later and win. And at the start of the race, the clutch was slipping. I just got a bad start and came through. And then I got into the lead a few laps ago. And then the gear change started jumping. I'm like, for fuck's sake, what else is going to go wrong with this bike? And I got it home and I was just relieved. I just
can't believe it.
Just crying my eyes out, really. Just finally, all the work and paid off everything I said I was this, I was that, I was the best, and I could beat these guys with it. And finally, the people who didn't believe me thought, shit, he was telling the truth,
But that's something, the emotional side of it. Obviously, a lot of people see the racers and they see them smiling after they win a race, but the shit that follows you home, isn't it? When you're having a bad weekend, or you have a bad weekend like that, when you're saying you've smashed your bike up, you've put all this effort in to get yourself here. You've got your dad having a go at you, you've got your missus having a go at you. You'd rather just walk out. You'd rather just go and get your motor out the front, wouldn't you, and drive home? There's no place worse that you want to be. But to overcome that, it's mental, isn't it? And obviously, like you said, the emotion that comes out in it. I don't think people if you don't race, it's really hard. I've not found that outside of racing, that feeling of being depended on and everyone looking at you, especially if you talk yourself up, I guess, as well. But I guess, like you say, when you know, and that's quite a powerful thing about racing, isn't it?
I'd raced against these guys in 91 on the Honda, and the bike was so uncompetitive, and I was in and out, around them, and thought I can beat these guys, and just really know I can. And even my mechanic who was with me at Honda at the time, he's like, no, I don't know. I don't think you can beat Doug Poland. I'm like, fucking hell, what? I can beat them all. And I got the option to.
What's your dad like in them days? What had he been saying during the Honda? Put your finger out your arse, you're all right, come on. You're or was he supportive?
He's my biggest fan, to be honest. Still wears a Carl Fogarty t-shirt most days and stuff. He was a big fan of mine, big follower. He always have a bit of a go, and if I fell off a couple of times or something like that. But it's he generally was right there, 100%. Supportive and helping me, trying to sort deals out for the year after with whoever it would be.
Would he be going around the paddock having a little chat and that?
Yeah, he would be. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. He should sign our Carl. He's proper. He's going to be good. He's going to be world champion.
Yeah, that's good. And then when you went the next year, then, and obviously, so you went from, like you said, running yourself to doing everything that year. That was 92, you said.
Yeah.
And then 93, when you got that was the next year in the factory Ducati team. How was that? Was you just this is, I've done my bit?
Yeah, kind of. But then I had the pressure then of,
Yeah.
you know, riding for the main team
Yeah.
in World Superbike, the Ducati official factory team.
You're signed to win the races, aren't you? Then? You're signed to win the championship.
And it didn't start too well, to be honest. At Brands Hatch, I was leading the race on the first lap and came into the last corner. Is it Clearways?
Clearways, yeah.
And lost the front end. It was pissing down with rain. And I remember, for some reason, somebody had said, just watch the last corner. Don't go either the inside or out.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I've come up there, I thought, I've no idea where I'm meant to be. I just came up the middle of the road and just went whack with the brakes and fucking down I went. And I picked up speed as I slid it with that. It was just like ice, honestly. And hit the wall with my shoulder, hit the tyre wall. And just damaged the shoulder. I couldn't race in the second race. So that was my start.
1 and 2 done, yeah.
My factory debut on the Ducati was my teammate won both races.
Oh, who was that? Your teammate then?
Lapper.
Yeah, and what was the testing schedule like before? Would you have had like weeks on the bike, like with the tyres and the bike testing in general?
I can't remember much. I don't think we did a lot of testing that year, to be honest. I remember being at Paul Ricard testing. But I just think the season started quite early at Browns. It was pissing down with rain. I don't remember doing much testing, to be honest. I really don't. I mean, the years after, we tested a lot.
Yeah.
You know, but that 93 season into 93, I don't remember really doing much testing at all. I really don't. No, I don't.
No, it's interesting because obviously now, like, testing, like, if
well, you guys don't do much, really, do you?
BSB don't get a lot, but World Superbike have quite a rigorous like testing plan, really. And then if you look at MotoGP, obviously them guys.
I mean, we could go and test wherever we wanted to, you know, pay for it, but you can't do that, can you?
No, we can't. No, we've only got a certain.
It's just well, we've got enough money to go and test here. Well, you can't do. It's not. It's not in the
It's
rules.
not. Yeah.
It's all about.
It is crazy, but that. Yeah, it's mad because obviously then, like we were saying about the tyre battles, like you had all these different tyre manufacturers there, and then you've got each one trying to bring out a new tyre for this track and that track. And would if you went out on the Friday and say you had 4 tyres to try, none of them worked, would they get something to you the next day? Would it be like right?
The truck was full of tyres. It really was. I mean, you'd open the doors and it was like.
How many laps do I have to do?
I'm just trying to find something in here that's going to work. There was 16.5, 17 inch. I was really a 17-inch guy in the rear. I was the last of them to be prized off onto 16.5. I really couldn't get on with 16.5 at all. So but the 17 run hot. The bigger the wheel, the hotter it ran. And some circuits it would just run too hot by the late 90s and blister or pop or blow out and stuff like that, which it did at Brands in '99. And then for the second race, I had to run 16.5 and just struggle on mid corners grip, which is something that was my strong point. The mid corner speed my corner speed that I carried was better than the other guys. That's my main strength really. And when I've got a tyre that's breaking traction all the time on full lean as I'm touching the throttle, then I was struggling, to be fair. But yeah, it was just a lot of tyres to get. And all my hard work really had to be done on Friday and Saturday, straight into it, straight onto.
So you just race run.
Obviously, my teammate had have two some sort of similar tyres, but I'd go off his information, and he'd go off mine with Troy Corser, say, and we're trying to find some tyres out Friday and Saturday morning, then to think, right, this one should be the good one. Michelin would have a bit of an idea anyway, you know, but then try for a race run on that. Try 20 laps on Saturday. I'd do 20 laps and boom, look at my times, bang, bang, bang.
You're not poodling, you can't, can you? You can't.
No, not at all, no. And if tyre wasn't right, after 8 laps, I'd come in, I'd try another one, try and get about 16 in, then you were gambling then for the Sunday, you know. But if I did all my homework and got everything right on the Friday and Saturday, then Sunday would be quite easy.
I know. Because
I thought nobody can beat me. They can't carry the corner speed I carry, and I've got the right tyre. I'm going to win the race. That was my mentality back then. That's how confident I was, you know. But it was just whether we'd done our own homework on Friday and Saturday to get to the tyre to work and last for 20 laps, sort of thing, you know, or 20. 25. What
was it like being Corser's teammate? Did you get a bit loose, like away from the circuit, or like when you was in the season, was you quite focused and you didn't really like? Was you not like that as a person? Did you not want to like sort of get away from your program? Was you quite serious?
I was quite intense, quite focused.
Because that's as your like career, like you were a focused guy. You went, didn't you? And you went to win, and that's it.
It's mentally very strong and just focused. And I didn't really enjoy racing, to be honest. I enjoy winning. there's a big difference. I look at people who enjoyed racing, like James Whitton, people like that, and kind of envy them a little bit. I wish I'd have enjoyed it like as much as what they did. But then I think if I did, then maybe I won't be the person as successful as I was. I don't know. I was so intent on winning, so much driven about winning. Once I had won it, that 5 minutes on the rostrum listening to the national anthem was like, yes, relief. It's fantastic, and champagne. And within 5 minutes after I come off the rostrum, I'm thinking about the next race.
Right, where are we going? Yeah,
What we need to do for that circuit. I struggled a bit last year, and my head's gone on that, and that was what I was thinking about. The next race all the time.
Was that a strength? Would you say now, like when you look back, would you say that was one of your strengths, that you was just relentless in your work rate, almost like just
mentally? Yeah, I guess it was, but I don't know. In some ways, it kind of been my downfall as well. I was just maybe too intense and needed to switch off from it a little bit. And even when I come home to the house, and I found it, I struggled to switch off. I was still thinking about that next race and where it'd be in the championship position, and where I was, and the points and stuff like that. Yeah, I did certainly brought it home with me. Certainly, people who lived around me, my wife and I, put up with a lot from me for a lot of years. To be fair, they did.
Well, having that, because it's a really mad thing. Because like even like when you look at like the wives of motorsport racers, let's say, like it's such a different life. Like if your wife was at the school dropping off the kids and their partners are there and there's all these, but with like racing, it's such a different, like the women are on their own quite often, or if they're coming to the circuit, it's just such a different life, isn't it? And it's like from the normal person, if you've got a 9-to-5 job, but you've married a motorbike racer, it's completely different. And it's, and
she was always really supportive, Michaela. She was always there, always came to every race, always there. Biggest fan. She would be there on the pit wall doing the timing. She wanted to be. She wanted to be part of it, really. And she was there when, for her shoulders to cry when things weren't going well, and obviously when things were, then she was dead excited and buzzing like, as I was. Yeah.
And then what about after that? When was the? Didn't you have that tear up with Frankie Keeley? I was going to say, when you said didn't you have that Assen when you done him at the chicane?
Yeah, it was just people gone about that still, like you've mentioned it now. But I mean, I love Frankie. I wish him all the best in his battle with Parkinson's and stuff. And he's one of the very few guys that I actually got on really well with, to be fair. But we had that heated.
But it was heated moment. He's lost the race.
He kind of blamed me for we weaving around on the track, but. It was coming to a bit of a head, really. All the three Ducati guys, the factory guys, me, Keeley, Corser, could all have won the championship in '98 at that point. And the two managers didn't like each other. Virginio and Davide didn't like each other. And in the first race, he'd passed me, he'd pulled down the back straight and just passed me. Like, he's back faster than mine.
What's going on?
And he couldn't lead the race. But he passed me on the last lap and beat me over the line. I was fucking furious. I've been beaten at Assen. It's like this doesn't happen,
Yeah, that was your track.
His bike was faster. I'm thinking, he's Italian. He's conspiracy. He's got a better engine.
Yeah, Ducati favoured him.
I don't think it was that case. I think sometimes you got engines and some were just quicker. Keeley always does seem to have fast bikes. And then, so in the second race, he was leading early on. I passed him. He couldn't really lead the race. I could lead round and get my head down, but I couldn't shake him off. And I thought, he's not coming past again on the last lap and down the straight. So I was kind of weaving. And that's what he was angry about, to be honest.
Oh, okay, so it weren't even so much about the move.
But then he crashed. Just being something stupid, to be honest. I actually lost the lead to him. I missed a gear further around on the last lap, and he came past. I thought, no problem. Your last corner, you make sure you're right, though. You're definitely faster into the chicane. And just went straight up the inside, boom, back to first gear, backing in a little bit. And I didn't even know he'd gone down, to be honest, because I've gone through, won the race, looked around, and I thought he's finished second or third. I went until I came back round and saw him walking across and didn't look happy. I thought, what's happened? And he's like, then he realised he crashed. And he's like, you fucking like going mad. And I said, I never touched you. I passed you. I was like, miles.
Mega place though, with all the fans there, because that is some.
The old fans who were mental. It was a crazy crowd. Like 60,000 Brits were over there or something. It was mad. And he just got really heated. And then he came in the dressing, in the press conference after he had a shower, his blue towel in kind of dressing gown on. Still going, man, what to say? This guy's, what he did today was really bad. I'm like, oh, fuck off. Listen to this shit,
come on, man. It's racing,
But it was, he just got heated for that sort of period of time, really. by the year after, we were kind of all mates again and stuff, you know. But he was a very passionate guy. He was about racing, as we all are, really. But
amazing track, though, isn't it, Assen? Was that one of your? Would that have been one of your favourites?
Yeah, it was my favourite. Yeah, the way it was built, it was just built for me, for my style.
And that was a longer lap then, wasn't it? Where you went?
2 minutes a lap. Yeah, just 2 minutes 1 second, I think it was. I think the lap record I got there in '99. But it was just for me. I mean, my transition from letting go of the brakes, to the accelerator was my strong point. Yeah. The transition was straight away. You know, there was a lot of people coming braking, off the brakes, turn, then go. But mine was initially straight away from brake to throttle, and then the bank corners, the camber that Assen had, it just helped me as well hold the line really good.
And he was horribly late on the brakes.
I was just tenth of a second on every corner, quicker than the rest of the guys. You know, and then I won 12 out of 14 races there, and only lost 2 by half a bloody wheel, which the 2 that I remember, to be honest. You know. But it was kind of built for me, for my style of riding, to be honest. Yeah, 250 corner speed kind of style of riding. Yeah,
that is impressive. And then but going back to with the piss up thing, you weren't really into that.
No, we'd have a few beers.
End of season maybe.
I just never. A lot of them weren't really big drink. Well, I think it's Russell were, and they liked a few, and Troy and Gilberts, them guys. They could drink a bit, but I couldn't really drink. Me and Whittam and whatever, we'd go a few shandies, and that was about it, really. You know?
Sounds southern, mate. Yeah. And what was it? Who was your worst? Who was the rival you just actually had a proper rivalry with?
Just everybody, really. It seemed to be for me. But the 3 Americans in different sort of years were Russell, Edwards, and Kaczynski. Those 3 really were 3 very fast guys who could win the world championship. Well, all did win the world championship. My focus and beef was with those guys, but they was the same with me, really. They weren't afraid to say what was on their mind, you know, or what the heart's on the sleeve sort of thing. And it must have been the Sky TV loved it, you know.
You're winning the world championship. You're not out there. You're not
out there to make friends. It was always dissing them or saying, I'll beat him. He's not that good. His bike's better than what he is. That kind of thing, you know. And stuff like that.
Little digs, that's all.
I mean, even on TV, I've seen clips on YouTube, and when I've called Kaczynski a little cock from Arkansas and stuff like that. I'm like, God, why do you say these?
Did you say that after? Did you think to yourself after, or did you think I don't care?
No, I didn't. But it's just now I think, why don't I just keep my mouth shut and put less pressure on myself? But that's how I was. I was just
you were a fierce
obsessive,
rival, though, weren't you?
Arrogant, sort of, intense. Single-minded, all them kind of words that really to win, you know, that was it.
But that's what I'm sure it was Johnny Ray. Like me and Johnny would be talking a little bit, and I'm sure that he said to me like there's that certain element of bastard you've got to have in you to win that championship, because Mr. Nice Guy is going to get trodden on, isn't he? Like you've got to have that. I don't care if you're in my way, I'm coming through you, and that's it. Because that's how you win championships, and would you agree that's how you were, just fierce?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as Jonathan, like you say, he's like that. He's got a real edge to him. I mean, even back in my day, the guys didn't like doing. He was ruthless, to be honest. And Swans and people like that, Will Lawson, and they didn't particularly like each other, really. You know, they were trying to really ride hard and try to win. You know, it just seems to have changed since the Rossi era came along, where it was a lot more smiley and approachable and friends and stuff.
Apart from him and Marquez, they hated each other, didn't they?
Well, yeah,
they ran him off the track.
That was a bit of a daft one, really, from them both. To be honest, in Sepang, it was crazy.
Just to enjoy watching the racing, like you follow the Worlds and MotoGP.
My favourite's the BSB, to be honest, because you're in it, Danny.
I know, mate. Obviously,
big fan.
I've got that T-shirt for you. I'll sign it for you later.
No worries. I'll put it in the toilet. But I watched the 3, the BSB, World Superbike, and MotoGP. Them the 3 I follow and watch. But in order, BSB's the number 1 for me. I just can't believe that it's still legal for you guys to race bikes with the much horsepower that you've got without electronics on some of the most ridiculous circuits in the world.
Skill level, mate. You know what I mean?
Home Parks and Cadwell and Knock Hill and stuff like that. Thruxton, I'm like, it's just one big right-handed Thruxton. Really?
Mate, honestly, give me that Ducati and some of them tyres, mate. I'll sort it right out.
Yeah, honestly, it's fair play to you boys. And there's so many, within a split second, you can be on the rostrum or you can be down in 12th to 15th. It is mad. It's great spectacle to watch. I love watching it. Yeah, I do. And
touching back then, obviously going through the career, like what about the MotoGP side of things? You obviously did a couple of wildcards Was it the first wildcard you ran out of fuel? You was in a rostrum position, wasn't you? And you ran out of fuel.
That was the second time. Third time. In '93, I went out. God, I was so close to winning the British Grand Prix in a lot of ways.
That would have been mental, wouldn't it? That would have been.
And I hadn't any practice on the bike at all. And in a weekend where I needed more track time than anybody else, because everybody else had been on 500s all year, I've been racing 4-strokes.
You just rocked up and raced it? You asked to race it before?
And when we went to bed Friday night, I was second fastest behind either Rainier or Swans. And I thought, fucking hell, I can win this here. And then on the first lap, the morning warm-up on Saturday, I high-sided the thing, looking back.
Oh, they are.
There's a crash up there, actually. Coming out of Melbourne.
The Widowmaker.
And then I damaged the bike and they couldn't get it running properly for the next qualifying session, so I got a spur bike out and that felt awful. So I dropped from second fastest to fifth fastest. And found something, a loose wire or something on the kill button or something it was. So we had to guess again, everything for the Sunday, what tyre, that kind of thing, the gearbox internals. I still look, I'm just going to have to leave them. I just felt that second was too low.
So they could have changed all of that internally
and then in the race, there's a big crash on the first lap. I avoided that. I got through to second place. I was catching rainy a little bit for a lap or two. Then I'm starting to have trouble with the front brake. That kept coming back to the bar. So you see me at one point just reaching over and winding the thing out and out and out. And then as I do that, Cadalora comes past me, get the brake right, and the rear tyre had gone. It's too soft a tyre we'd chosen.
No electronics.
And then I was struggling, keeping the thing, in third place. And I just about held off Mackenzie. And then on the last lap, it misfired a few times. I thought, oh God, what's going wrong now? And I just knew something was going to go wrong coming out the last corner. It just came out, he just came past, and third place was gone. And that was it, really. And I was only about 22 seconds off winning the bloody race or something, But yeah, it was. I was pissed off, to be honest. Not only because I just got pipped for third place on the roster.
But it was not your fault again.
But we just didn't have much practice with this bike, and when I did, it didn't go all right. Everything kind of went wrong that could have gone wrong, really. And I look at it now. If I'd had a bit more time on the bike, and we could have won the British Grand Prix,
Yeah, and did you have that? Do you know, like that aura you had, like I was saying about being the fierce competitor when you went and done like the MotoGP? Did you take that with you? Was that just instilled in you? Like, did you, or was you a bit like when you was behind Rainey? Was you like, okay, no, I'm not that far away from? Did you have any sort of thought? Oh, I'm not far from winning the Grand Prix, or I'm not far from being in the podium of the Grand Prix, or was you just getting on with the race and just head down?
I'm just getting on with the race and going as hard as I could, really.
In that zone,
I was riding hard on the bike because I was getting a little bit tired on the bike as well because it just didn't seem right. The brakes trouble, the rear tyre, then the gearbox. I just felt like it was in the wrong. Second or third gear was too low, too long. I can't remember which way around it was now. So I was overriding the bike a little bit, struggling later on in the race, but I just managed to hold off and got third place, and then as it came out of the corner, it just misfired and spluttered over the line, and that was it. Got passed by Neil, and I was obviously gutted, to be honest, but I was more gutted that we'd not won the bloody race, really, with what happened.
It just baffles me now that obviously you get that, like, if you went now and like World Championship rider went and jumped on a MotoGP bike, finished second, they'd almost be like a guaranteed, wouldn't they? Like, right, we're going to get you in that contracted up next year into the. And was there any opportunities like that with the MotoGP, or
there was a little bit? I mean, after that race in '93, Lucky Strike Suzuki, Gary Taylor was kind of interested, but it just fizzled out. Lucky Strike didn't really want me on the bike. I didn't really help myself. I wasn't very promotable, really.
You was winning races though, weren't you?
I was a scruffy-looking guy that I didn't really take much about presentations.
Just wanted to go racing and win races.
So there was a bit of talk with them, and then I think all that was just to get them to get Doug Chandler a bit cheaper or something. I don't know, for '94 season. Then in '95, when I won the World Superbike title again, I went to Spain for the Grand Prix. Met Roberts, who was thinking about signing us for '96. He said he wanted me to ride the Marlboro Yamaha in '96, and he was just waiting on Marlboro whether they okayed or not. And he came back. He said, "Look, Marlboro don't want you." And I don't know how true all this is, I don't know, but that was it, really. And he's somewhere riding the bike next thing, so I don't know how much he really wanted, to be honest. But so then my that kind of door closed then for me in MotoGP. I just said I'm signing for Honda in '96 and Castle Honda, and that was it, really. So that the door had shut, basically. And I said, look, that's me now. I'm like sort of 30. No, it's like nearly 30, 29, 30. And I just wanted racing in World Superbike for random career. World Superbike was so big then.
Yeah.
It didn't seem that important to racing GPs. It was massive for the crowds, and the TV coverage, the media coverage was all about World Superbike and not GPs. Amazingly, when you think about it now. Yeah.
And how was the Honda then? So you went to the Honda. Did you carry that sort of like, well, it doesn't matter what I get on, I'm gonna win it? Did you have that, not like arrogance, but like that belief?
I'd lost my belief a little bit that year. I look back now and I just kind of went there for the money, really. I think, and the organisation, and the fact that I got a Honda NSX to drive and a Prelude and a fucking motocross bike. I was like, oh yes, excellent. You get these at Ducati, you know. They kind of dangled the carrot, and I went for it, you know, with Neil Tuxworth and the Honda, and the same sort of crew that I knew from Honda Britain days. It was all based in the UK, and when I got there, I just thought I wasn't that motivated, to be honest. I remember saying to Mikhail, I don't think I can win the championship this year, and she said, I don't think you will. I think you'll.
She said she knew you obviously knew.
I just kind of gone for the wrong reasons, really. And I didn't help myself. I didn't focus. I didn't push. I wasn't really passionately aggressive and determined to win. I was at a few rounds, but not all of them. And so I even went to the last round. I could still have won the championship, to be honest. I ended up fourth, but I won 2 races at Assen again, things like that, and a few other races at Monza and at Hockenheim. But I'd made the mistake. I'd broke up a winning team. I would have won the World Championship in '96 with Ducati. There's no question.
Was there a contract on the table for Ducati? Did they want to renew again for that season?
Yeah, I think there was a bit. Oh well, you know, he's been and he's left us. I'm not so sure, but Virginio sort of persuaded him to bring me home, and when I came back home, and things had changed really. The suspension guy had gone, and the engine guy had gone, and the bike felt different in '97.
So almost like just complete. It
was just, it felt like the bike felt alien for what I remember. So breaking up a winning team, it cost me 2 years to get it back right again. To be honest,
then what was the last year you won? What was the last year you won? The
99.
99. Yeah.
Well, I won it in '98. Again, I lost me a little motivation a little bit in '98. We had the incident with Keeley in Assen and stuff, and I lost motivation during maybe at Laguna Seca. Maybe David Torazzi gave me some harsh words, saying, "Come on, you can, you know, you're wasting our time or what? You keep moaning about your bike, you moan about your knee." And I just, you know, he kind of said the right things to me at the right time. You're wasting our time. You can still do this. You still win if you want to. It's down to you. You're moaning about your bike. You're moaning about this, and get on with it and just fucking race. I'm like, I'll show you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I pulled it round and managed to go on and win the championship in '98. When I didn't really deserve to be fair.
Yeah. Do you think they knew
I was a bit lucky?
You?
Yeah. And so then I was backfired up, and for '99, people thought he was lucky to win the championship in '98, and I was really, to be fair, I was lucky.
And that went down to the last race. Did you say last weekend?
Yeah, Sugo between me, Slight, and Corser.
Yeah.
And I came out on top. And it was so emotional again. It was just such a relief. It was like the emotions were just unbelievable.
It's just like this all season. It's up and down. Am I going to win?
But I just pulled it out of the bag at the last round of the year.
Where was that?
To win at Sugo in Japan,
Sugo,
again, other side of the world. And so then in '99, I was just so focused on being number one. I was like, my head was right. I was definitely fitter. The same bike, same team. And I just knew that I was going to come out of the blocks and go, bang, take that, you lot. My motivation is right back to, highest level it's ever been, And I came out and won both races in the first round at Kyalami in South Africa. And I hadn't won a double race win for 3 years. Yeah.
So and it's mad that you say, I had that, and you like. What's mad is that, you say, I had that motivation, and when I knew I had that motivation, I knew I could win. But when you had that motivation, what changed in your riding abilities was it just, did the determination take over the skill, or was it just a combination?
It was just the motivation to work harder on Friday and Saturday.
To understand what was going wrong, if it was.
Just do all the work on the bike and not get distracted by someone like Troy going out and doing one fast lap with then he had to go. I think, why has he done that? Just forget it. Stick to what you're doing.
Stay what I'm doing.
Just focus on that.
I'm writing this down, mate. I need some tips. I'll talk to you about it after. I'll give you a tenner for them. No, but it's mad, and obviously, the amount that you've done and won and things like that. Obviously, it's impressive. So it's mate, mental. But and obviously, I keep touching back on the bastard factor. Is that something like when you kind of, obviously you had so it was 2000 that you had the injury, was it at Phillip Island?
Yeah.
And how was that? Like obviously, I've seen you've spoke about it a little bit before, but what was it? Was it just shit, what am I going to do now? Or like, let's get back to being fit and see how we feel? Or how was that whole thing?
I knew early on from when I had the accident that this wasn't, an easy fix, and it was probably going to be a career-ending one.
Yeah.
And when I saw the specialist, the Professor Andrew Carr at Oxford, when I got back, he said, "Look, you've made a mess of that. It's going to take a year for it to heal properly."
How old was you then?
34.
34, yeah.
And you're going to lose a certain movement of it. I mean, even now, even doing that doesn't come down like that does, And it's a position you need to be in when you're down behind the screen, And you'll lose a bit of strength and obviously a bit of a nerve damage. So the decision was made, really, And I remember announcing it in the September. I turned 35 then. And I just was so wrapped up in my own little bubble. I didn't even know how big a name I was. I mean, it was coming on the TV across the Sky info bar across the bottom. Carl Fogarty announced his retirement. Fax machines go in and whatnot. It was just mad. There's radio station, TV wanting to speak. What are you going to do now? I was like, just relief that it was all over somehow. I haven't got that pressure. But having to go and win again because it becomes so big, and I didn't have a manager or anything at that point, and the pressure was unbelievable that I put on myself, and the expectation from the crowd and seeing the media coverage, the expectation was so big that it was all over. It was like such a relief. I can, smile and kind of enjoy it, and kick back and be at home a bit and just do fun stuff,
Because people don't understand that. Like when you're on a race weekend, let's say, and you're signing autographs, how many people smash it, win it, go on, mate, you can, oh yeah, and it's like, do you know, like there's so many little ounces of energy that get taken away, isn't there? Like throughout, like, obviously the fans are great and they're mega and they're motivating, but there's so much to deal with on a race weekend. Let alone then you've got the pressure of winning the championship, and let alone then you win the championship, you need to win every race for Ducati, and it's like there's just an insurmountable amount of pressure in it, and it's like, did you know when you crashed that bike? Did you know, right? Or was you just like, nah, Phil, I'm smashed up, yeah.
Yeah, because I smacked my head as well. The head injury was as bad as the shoulder injury for a while.
Did you clip the back of some? Was it that crash? Was it that crash? Yeah.
You only see it from my onboard camera and you think, well, why have I clipped the back of this guy? I don't know, but apparently he was having trouble. I'd got a bad start from front row of the grid. I don't know why. I hit a damp patch at the start from the race one. It was wet. It was dry for race two, but there was a damp patch. And I went sideways a bit, and I got away quite bad. I remember passing Gobert on the first lap, and the next thing I remember is just hearing a helicopter noise, stuff like that. I'd smacked my head, I'd gone in with my shoulder, my head. I clipped the back of his bike, obviously, but he'd had a problem apparently that he'd gone offline, and his bike cleared, and he came back onto the line. I came up so fast behind him, clipped him. It was my own fault, I guess, really. And then I don't remember anything, and I just hit the wet grass apparently, and I ricocheted off the tyre wall back out. Then people thought I was dead because I was just led there motionless, But
that's but you see that gap, you make that decision. You're going, so you're travelling, you're covering how many meters per second? It's nuts, isn't it? And you made that decision to overtake, and it was one of them, innit?
But that was it really. And next thing I know, I've got a head injury. I was like so tired for the next 6 months. I had some bruising on the brain or something. I can't remember what it was. Because of the head injury. But my shoulder was a mess, and I was just so tired all through that summer. I kept going to bed really early at night and stuff, And I just felt that straight away that this was it. Really, I was just prolonging the agony of announcing the retirement and announcing it. But that was it, I guess.
And if you was fit enough to get back on the bike, would it have been no shadow of a doubt type thing? Like,
definitely. If I felt,
if you could have done,
definitely. There's no question. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
And then what about after that? Was it just like did you have a plan, or did you not really? Was you like you said, you sat there? And
I've done it right financially, to be honest. At that point, anyway, I just thought just sit on what I've earned and just carefully monitor it, I didn't really know. I mean, the next thing I know, I got a 3-year contract thrown in front of me with Ducati, a 3-year contract from Shark Helmets, and things like that. Ambassador kind of thing, and then obviously the Petronas thing that came along, which is a bizarre thing that happened, really. And it was,
How did it come about?
God, it came about through a guy called David Wong, who I raced for. I did some racing in Malaysia in '92. For Petronas and won a few races for them on the Kawasaki run team, and he's right in with Petronas running the car team and the Superbike team in Malaysia, and he said, look, there's this thing happening with Petronas and Sauber with this engine, and on about going to MotoGP and that, And I'm like, I was on holiday at the time in my house in Spain, and he kept going on about this thing. I'm like, half not even interested. Listen to it, you know, like whatever. I think I can persuade him to come to World Superbike. I'm like, all right, whatever. Anyway, I'll pass it on to my manager, who I had then, Neil, and he spoke with him. He said, look, I think there's something here with this, you know, big sort of deal. And so he somehow convinced them to not go to MotoGP and just build 3 bikes or 4 bikes, but to become a new manufacturer. Yeah. Have to make 150 bikes.
Because they've got them still now, haven't they?
As well as the 4 bikes for us to go racing, like. So they're like really 154 racing bikes, really, is what they were. So yeah, that's how it happened. And I think as soon as it happened, I think Petronas probably thought, what have we done here? Who signed this off here? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's signed off now. It's a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
Fogarty's got to create the facilities, build the chassis, get the staff, everything, and put the riders on the bike. And that was the main thing I was involved in, really. That was what I was head of. I got good people around me to help do that, because I didn't really know anything about running the business, you know.
Big commitment.
Yeah. But we did everything really well. We had the great facilities, a great bike. We copied off a 500 Yamaha, all the kind of dimensions, that kind of thing, really. And Fabtech, they designed the bike. So then we'd come along, put the engine, fit in perfect, and kind of that's when the trouble started, really. We just designed and fundamentally built wrong, really, for a 3-cylinder. It should have been done a lot differently than what it was, but a guy called Suter had given the development project, passed on from Sauber, and really we had no say in that, really. So it was it was hard for him, because he was new to doing something like this. He was just used to doing 2-strokes, bloody clutches and things like that, I guess.
How was you as a team manager? Like, how did you feel like being like watching your riders? Was you like, did you have that killer instinct, that fierceness back again, where you wanted to beat everyone up the pit lane, or was it like, mate, come on, you're not putting in enough effort, or was you like, how was you as a team manager, would you say?
Well, I was all right, really. I put guys on the bike who'd been around a while, you know, like Troy and Corser and people like that. So it was fine. I knew what the bike they were on was nowhere near capable of doing anything. So
but you knew
I didn't say too much, to be honest. You know, we put Chris Walk on the bike and James Aiden in the first year, and Gary McCoy, and then obviously last year I kind of helped Craig Jones a little bit, put a new young guy on, and to learn the hard way, really, on something uncompetitive, to learn the circuits and that, which hopefully will stand him in good stead for future, which wasn't to be, unfortunately, for him, and he was sadly killed at Brands. But yeah, it was just an emotional roller coaster ride of a few little highs, but a lot of lows, really. There's a lot of frustration going to a race meeting weekend where you've got a presence which is as big as anybody's there, and you're running around trying to get an odd point at the back, you know, with an uncompetitive bike which is overheating or leaking oil, that sort of thing. It was really frustrating, but Petronas stuck to the guns for the 5 years and wouldn't let us change it for the last 2 years and run Fireblades or Ducatis or something like that, you know. But no, they
could have been an easy way out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been easier to do that, and we'll get some decent results. But no, it ran its course, and that was it, really.
Yeah, and what did you do after that? Did you ever think about anything else? Was you still just trying to stay connected with the racing side of things?
Not really. I took a few years off then. I just had enough of it all. I got a bit sick of it all, really, to be honest.
That would be draining.
Yeah. I had a couple of years with my best mate who died of cancer, who was battling cancer, and I was just spent a bit of time with him, really, the last couple of years. Went fishing, going out for drinks and stuff like that, and
carp fishing.
Eh?
Carp fishing?
No, sea fishing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like carp fishing.
Oh, that's something. We like a bit of carp fishing, we do.
No, I know you love.
What was you catching?
Anything that's in the sea.
Anything that bites.
Cod.
Did you cook
mackerel
it?
And I cooked it. Yeah. So I spent a couple of years with him until he died, and then I kind of got back involved with a bit of stuff with Eurosport and things like that, and whatever, and stuff with CCM and stuff with Ducati, that kind of thing, really. Yeah.
Then I
guess, chat shows, tours, things like that with them.
And I guess obviously then that around this sort of time you would have gone. Would that have been the jungle time when you got called up?
Yeah,
to
just after that. Yeah, it was 2014 when I got asked to do that show for the second time. I'd been asked previously about 2003, just not long after I retired from racing.
Not enough zeros on the contract. You say come back when there's a few more on there.
No, but I just wasn't really mentally right for that kind of thing then, to be honest. Even though family wanted me to do it, and I was like, no. And then when they did ask me in 2014, I was like, I fancy this. And Mikhail's going, nope, don't do it. Everyone, you'll think you're a twat and they'll hate you. Don't do it. I'm like, thanks for the...
Cheers for the honesty.
Yeah, thanks for the support, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, ITV came up to my house to help persuade us do it and flew us down to London, said the family would be looked after in the Versace Hotel and stuff. And she's like, no, don't need to do it. And I went, I'm going to do it. I'm doing it.
Was that because she said, no, don't do it? Did you just think, I'm getting
And I didn't tell her I was doing it. I'd already
Yeah.
said yeah. And she found out that I'd said yes. Because it was really early on in the year. It was like March, April time. I agreed to do it. I kept it secret. And then in the summer, she didn't speak to me for about 2 months. It was great.
Oh. Did you live in a different part of the house? Were you in a spare bedroom?
And then she came round and threw a bit of a going away party for us and stuff. You know what I mean? Everything was good. And yeah, it's one of the biggest TV show in the UK. And yeah, you kind of throw yourself in there. And I was a bit nervous at the start, really nervous. And then kind of got into it. And I got a good bunch of people in there, really, which was good. And threw myself in. I was keeping the fire going and boiling the bloody water and cooking the rice and beans and fetching more wood and stuff and throwing myself into all the challenges. And it just spiraled. And I didn't know what was going on, being said and shown on the outside. But from the first vault off, I was in that with 3 others. I survived it. And I thought I'd gone. I thought it was a big 4 to be in this team event that we'd lost. So it was 4 for vote. And I'd come out. I'd gone through that. And I thought I'm probably going to be safe for a couple of days here now, you know. But when it got to the final, I thought, Jesus Christ! I got to the final.
Yeah.
I come third,
Yeah.
then second, then King of the Jungle, Foggy. I'm like, what? Just dropped to my knees. Just completely shocked me, to be honest.
It's mental, isn't it?
Absolutely huge mental thing.
What was the worst part of it? What was obviously let's talk about the eating side of
It's
things. Like, you gotta
eating
eat some
stuff, yeah.
shit,
I had spiders, cockroaches, mealworms. I have a jug of bloody mealworms. Some spiders, cockroaches. Yeah, not good at all.
I think I could do the bits. Do you know, like when you're laying in and they drop the fish? I could probably do the fish, but the spiders, I freak out. My little girl, she's 5 years old. She literally, I said to her before, like, right, watch out. I'm gonna go and get the spider. I'm gonna go and get a little container to get the spider out. She's got it up her arm. She's letting it crawl. I'm losing my head. That would be the end of me. That with the spider.
No, it didn't bother me stuff like that. It was just the eating and stuff, and even the challenges, the physical challenges. They were. You've no energy because you've not eaten.
You're not eating proper
You've no
food.
fuel in you.
Yeah.
So when you're doing it, it's 30 degrees heat, a lot hotter than that. So when you're doing like a challenge, you're out of breath straight away, you know. And I got myself pretty fit before I went in there. But yeah, eating stuff and drinking that deer's blood, that was awful. That was disgusting, honestly. That was awful. It was like lumpy and gritty and it stunk. It was everywhere. I got it down.
Yeah.
And after, when you've gone off air, Dr. Bob's there, he's going, "You all right?" I'm going, "I don't feel fucking brilliant, mate, to be honest."
It's not something I'd pass off on.
"Trust me, keep that down if you can. Keep it down. It's the best thing you've had since you've been in here. It was just 100% protein, wasn't it? Really,
Not like the governor, though, is it? Not like a bottle of governor? No, nothing like it.
It put me off drinking red wine for quite a while after, to be fair. But,
what was it like when you got home? Was you just like, when you laid in your own bed, was you just like, this
God,
is the...
yeah. It's just, when I spent that night in the Versace Hotel, I got in the bathroom went black. I thought I was quite clean because I carried washing in there and stuff, but all the smoke from the fire and that, you know. But yeah, I landed at Manchester Airport and there's like a bloody big crowd there, like I won the World Championship again.
Okay,
It was
you
crazy,
saw,
you know. It was mad, press everywhere. And yeah, it was crazy. It really was. It was amazing. Just an incredible opportunity and just a roller coaster ride of emotions from day one to the end, really.
And what was it like? Did you have any fears? Like obviously, like I said about me and the spiders, did you have any sort of fears going in that you sort of...
The fears I had going in with the other people, I was scared of them because if I didn't get on with them, then it's going to be a long and lonely place in there. And that was my biggest fear, was the other campmates.
Yeah.
And luckily I got on well with everybody. No one thought they were bigger or better than anybody else, and which was good for me. But that was our main thing, to go in, see if I could cope with people, because I don't really like people, to be honest. I don't like the other thing. It's not really
No, but I don't know. You're quite a nice guy, actually, though. I think you're right, you are.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
And I just thought see if I could cope with the food situation and the boredom as well, because I hate being bored. So and I coped with it all really, really well. I surprised myself how much I helped others in there.
Yeah.
Who were probably struggling a bit at times, you know. I was a bit more a team player than I thought I was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was amazing, incredible experience.
So would you go back now if there was like a redo? Yeah, you'd definitely go for the crack.
I'd have to do it. Yeah.
What about if you had to go dancing like Strictly? Would you have a little go?
They've asked me to do that.
I can see them. I can see them feet,
just
mate,
no way
moving.
Not with my dodgy knee and dodgy ankle. I just not getting me in a pink sequin top, throwing some shakes with some Russian bird. I mean,
it'd be an experience.
Yeah, I just no. They've asked me to do that a couple of times. I said no. I've asked to do a Master Chef, Celebrity Master. I've not. No, I've done the main one really. Yeah, and I did that and won that. So that's me done with the reality TV stuff, to be honest, mate.
And what's the plan now then? Motorhome, travel?
Yeah, just trying to enjoy time, really. I've got left on this planet with missus and the family and that. Yeah, grandkids. Going down, they got the new camper van, just go around the country, camping out and stuff. Get the old paddleboard out, and the fishing rods out, and the mountain bikes out, that kind of thing. And at the same time, I still keep my hand in with the bikes. Stuff with Ducati Manchester Group.
Yeah.
I'm kind of ambassador for them, and Bike Sure Insurance, and so just doing events, personal appearances every now and again. So,
just keeping
still keeping busy, mate. Yeah,
still riding the trials bikes and that. Then still
not the trials bikes. I do the off-road bikes. I ride the enduro bikes. I'm off to Spain in a few weeks' time.
Very nice.
With my mate, doing a couple of days riding out in the Malaga area and stuff. Yeah.
Beautiful, isn't it?
All good.
I had a big crash out there. I was following this guy up and he was like, right, just follow me up the mountain. And we're going up the mountain on this enduro bike. And there was like this, like, it literally looked like you could it was like a berm, yeah, but it was like off the side of the mountain. Right. And I don't know what I'd done, but instead of just going up over it, I sort of like just clipped the side of it. And I literally went off the side of this mountain. But the bike, where I landed in like this hedging right on the side. And I got this big stick and it wrapped around the front fork of the bike and kept me. And I was on the bike against this hedge, probably about 15 foot down, hanging off this mountain. I'm going, oh, and mate, he's in front of me, he ain't got a clue, he's gone. So he looks over his shoulder and I'm like, help! And that enduro, you can get into a lot of shit there fast, can't you?
Yeah, sounds like you do as well.
Oh, no, only that one time that was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've had a few moments, I must admit,
Yeah, no, it's good stuff, mate. I've got some, let me have a look at my notes. I've got a few, got a couple of quick-fire questions anyway to give you. All right, so I've got this question. So, obviously, best track. Obviously, I think you've said it before a few times. But Phillip Island, would it be fair to say, or is it?
No, Assen.
Assen, best track. Yeah,
the best
absolute.
track.
Yeah. Favourite rider? Who would you look up? Who would you have looked up to, or who would you say is your favourite rider?
Kenny Roberts was my favourite rider. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done some winning.
Yeah, it was special.
And if you was at a meal, at your last ever meal, and you could have 3 people, dead or alive, who would you take?
Oh God.
Anyone.
I really don't know. I'm kind of more of a unsociable sort of person. I'd rather just have a meal.
What would you eat then? What would your last meal be? Bolognese, if you made it, because you said...
Oh, I don't know.
You're right,
steak, pie, chips, peas and gravy or something.
That's a proper northern delicacy, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Chips and gravy up here, don't you? That's quite common, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely got to have a gravy with chips, mate.
It's gravy with chips. Yeah. Well, obviously, before I say thanks for your time, mate, thanks for having us here. Obviously to your wife as well for allowing us in your home. North of the border, so we've got a bit of a drive back.
My pleasure,
now.
mate.
But yeah, no, honestly, thanks for having us.
Good to see you anyway. Good luck for this year, mate.
I know we give each other some shit, but I didn't realise how much winning you've done now. I'm going to shut up next time you tell me about my career.
I did win one or two.
I'm embarrassed now. I
was born on the first, so I had to do a win,
Yeah, so no. Well done, mate. Thanks you. Yeah, thank you.
No worries, Danny. Cheers. Good to see you, mate.
Boom, boom. Danny is back. What a ride this is, and it is on.